Hi, welcome to 2x2 Studies. I'm Reverend Ellington, and I have Sister Patrice here with me, my lovely co-host.
Hi.
And so today we're going to pick up where we left off in our chronological review of the Bible. I pray that everybody had an opportunity to read Genesis chapters 12, 15, and 22. And so we're going to discuss a little bit of chapter 12.
1, 2, 3, action. Hi, welcome to 2x2 Studies. I'm Reverend Ellington.
And I'm Sister Patrice.
And thank you for joining us for this week's episode where we'll be studying the book of Exodus, chapter 1, which pretty much picks up from Genesis, the Abrahamic covenant, where God promised some things.
Yep. God promised to protect Abraham. He promised him a son. He promised to make a nation out of him. He also promised to bless those who blesses him and to curse those who cursed him.
Amen. And so we see these promises start to be fulfilled in the book of Exodus. And it all starts right around chapter 8. Chapters 1 through 7, Moses lists Jacob's descendants. That's Abraham's grandson. And after he lists the descendants, it picks up with this new king. There's a new king on scene now that doesn't know anything about Joseph and how he saved Egypt from and pretty much the world from a severe famine. So this new king is, which we're going to get into. Yeah, he's a little something special. But what we really want to talk about as far as this new king comes in, how does that relate to you? Have you guys ever had a new person come in to your life that, doesn't know you, or, just somebody new on the scene, somebody new, at work, a new teacher, a new friend to, your clique or whatever that really doesn't know, kind of that original group of people. You ever had a situation like that, Sister Patrice?
At my workplace.
Okay.
I did have a boss that was similar to the king.
Oh, okay. Did she try and kill the whole crew off?
No.
All right.
It's kind of like a trance, but everybody had, to worship her in a sense. So.
Oh wow. Okay. Boss worship. So everybody's walking around on eggshells and
basically,
okay,
either her way or no way. So.
Oh wow. All right. So the thing is, in life, sometimes we're gonna run into situations where there's gonna be somebody new, of authority, per se, that enters into our lives, that doesn't know the background story of who we are, and so I really think that, this first chapter is a real good, chapter to really kind of dig into in that sense that it's survivable. It's survivable. I take it by you being here that you survived the boss.
I did.
So,
Yeah.
that's a positive, and sometimes it's a learning, situation where we're learning to adapt and to the, new person, and they're learning to adapt to us. But the thing is, we have to continue to trust and lean on God first. And as we go through this story, we're going to see that just because somebody new comes on the scene, and they may, like your boss, want you to worship them. Our biggest our biggest task is to please God, not man. We have to, keep him, at the center of everything, and make sure that everything we're doing is to please him, and make him happy and everything. So let's look at this new king. So the first look we get at the new king is in verses 9 and 10, where he's scared. To me, that's what it looked like. He I don't know who he's talking to, because the Bible doesn't tell us who he's talking to, and so I'm imagining that he's probably talking to like his court officials or whatever. But he's like, look at these Israelite people. It's so many of them, and it's more of them than it is of us, and that ain't a good situation, Yeah. So, what do you think puts somebody in that mind situation where, they're new on the scene, and, their first thing is, these people that's here, is a negative, he's negative towards them. Why do you think he come in and just be negative towards them? Like, that's the first introduction we get of the king.
By him not knowing the people, it could be a form of control, and maybe, like you said, he's fearful, that they're possibly, or they could be stronger than him, you know what I mean, like far as in that aspect.
I think that he probably should have took a little bit of time to get to know them.
Yeah.
Because I think like the Israelites, are probably, that generation of them are probably still thankful, to the Egyptians, and because the Israelites, if they wouldn't have went down if Joseph wouldn't have brought them down there, they'd have probably died off too in the famine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, why is you coming at us like that?
Yeah.
Like, for real, and he's worried that like if a war breaks out, that they'll take sides with the enemy. And it's like, okay, nowhere in the Bible do we read that the Egyptians, before this point, the Egyptians were, mistreating the Israelites. Now, if they had been already mistreating them, then yeah, maybe they would join and fight with their enemies against them. But the Bible don't say like that happened. So why is the king thinking like that? And I know, like, being in a place of leadership, you have to like take a lot of things into consideration, what I'm saying, as far as like national security and stuff like that. But
not knowing them,
I just don't understand. I don't get his frame of thinking.
It's a form of control.
What do you mean control?
Okay, because how can I put it? Okay, it's like if you referring to like a boss, like a new boss steps on the scene and she have a crew, that she's their superior or whatever, and you want everybody, to do what you want them to do, but you don't take the time out, to be like, okay, where do I pick up from here, based on what the last superior was. And before this king, it was Joseph, right? Before him, or
no, it was another king before.
Oh, okay. I thought this was the one that dang it. So after this one, it was Joseph.
So Joseph was, remember, he was just like the vice king, so to speak. Like, you had the president, vice president. He was like the vice president, so to speak. But it was a so before this this king right here they're talking about, right? It was another king, and before that king, it was the king that knew Joseph. So it was the king that knew Joseph. Then another king came on the scene, and then this king
So what
came
is
on the scene.
okay? So verse 8 is saying eventually a new king came to power in Egypt who knew nothing about Joseph or what he had done.
Right.
So by me reading that, I could be misinterpreting it wrong, but I got the understanding that yeah, Joseph was before him and he stepped in to take over.
Well, Joseph was before him, but before this king got there, okay, so it was let's say King 1,
Okay.
you know, that knew that and Joseph, right?
Oh, okay.
Then when this king died, you know, there was another king, and then when that one was gone, we have this new king. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
So, you know, it's a king in between, you know, Joseph and the king he helped, and this new king that came on the scene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like I was saying with the with a new boss stepping in and not really understanding, the people and why it's like, okay, this is what needs to get done because I said this. I don't know. That's why I said it seems like a form of control because based on my understanding and the little bit that I did read, the people that he were controlling weren't bad people, or the people that he was saying, okay, look, I don't know, maybe he felt threatened.
Yeah.
Or something like we must make a plan to keep them from growing. I don't know. I just I didn't really like the whole concept basically because I understand, you king and you have the power and this and that, but it's how you use it. You know what I mean? Like, are you going to use it good, or bad? And some people, they don't use it in good form.
Yeah, he obviously didn't. So all right, so scholars think that this king right here wasn't a native Egyptian. He was a foreigner. All right.
Oh.
So all right, so Egypt, right? Scholars break Egypt down into 30 different dynasties, right? Mm-hmm. And then in those 3 dynasties, they break it down those 30 dynasties, they break it down into 3 different periods, okay? And so at the end of each of those 3 periods, Egypt is real weak at the end of these 3 periods, right? Right. And so at the end of these 3 periods, that's when foreigners would come in, and they'd have control of Egypt, right? And so they think this was during the end of this second period, right? Right about here, right? Okay. And so they think that this king was a foreigner, and I can't pronounce it quite right, but it's Hykos. Yeah, KOS. Yeah, or KOSO, something like that. KOS or KOSO. But they think that he was a foreigner, Hykos, from this was the name of the people, Hykos or whatever. That he came in. So him being a foreigner, I think that because he was a foreigner, you know what I'm saying, he didn't want like other foreigners in the land, you know what I'm saying, that could possibly challenge him, because he doesn't know the Israelites, You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's what they like. He don't know nothing about Joseph. He
Yeah.
don't know, you know what I'm saying, nothing about these Israelites or whatever. And so he's like, okay, we got this, I took over Egypt, and I got control over these Egyptians, and these Egyptians got this big large group of other people living here. And so I think he comes in it looking at it from like a military aspect of saying like, hey, let's stop them from growing, national security, let's stop them from growing, and let's make them slaves, for economic reasons. So he's thinking like money and security, and I think that's why he came in like talking the way that he came in talking, because he's a foreigner himself, that's, want to make sure like his position is secure.
Okay.
So after he's, after this time, this period or whatever, right? A Egyptian, native Egyptian, end up, rising to power and becoming, a new king, of Egypt or whatever, and they have another, that third period where, you got these Egyptian rulers and so forth. And then at the end of that period is when you have the Romans come in, and we like look at we start seeing that New Testament area where now you got, the Romans, the Greeks and the Romans, they're in, I think the Greeks came in, then the Romans came in, and they're in control or whatever. And so even though like in history we hear about like all these Egyptian pharaohs, King Tut and all them or whatever else, there were certain times when, periods where like Egypt had got weak, and these foreigners came in and took control. And so this was one of those times when you actually had a foreigner that was on, in the seat of power, and he didn't know nothing about Joseph. He didn't know nothing about the Israelites. That kind of make more sense now?
Yeah.
Of why? Okay. And so my problem.
So you said so that his to make sure that his position is secure.
Yeah.
So he did kind of feel threatened a little.
I think so. Yeah. Because he's a foreigner. And like when you're occupying, what I'm saying, a foreign territory, of course, the natives are already gonna, kind of, have it out for you. And then you got a whole nother group of people, separate group of people in the country that, just like there,
Yeah.
And so that would kind of be like, what I'm saying, say Canada came and invaded, America. And now, they rule in America, and, what I'm saying, all of Texas is just filled with Mexicans. They like, all right, we got to worry about these Americans, and we got to worry about these Mexican people that they got living in their country too. So, what I'm saying? You got to do something with them, and yeah. So it was a different time, and a lot of times, I think when people like, reading the Bible and stuff, they miss the fact that, customs were different, times were different, what I'm saying? So the options and things that they did back then, they don't always, make so much sense. But then like when you kind of really think about it in the light of like that time period, it does, because you got this group of people, they don't have a country of their own for to say, okay, I'm gonna deport you or put you out of the land and send you wherever. You don't have anywhere to send them. So what do you do with them? It's like stop them from growing, and make them slaves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, true.
And I think that's, the king, that new king, he kind of came at it, from the most logical point, but at the same time, he was really wicked. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because, I think he tried to hide that at first with the midwives,
Yeah.
because it's like he go and tell them like, hey, kill all the newborn babies,
Yeah.
and when that didn't work and that didn't pan out, how he was thinking, he had to tell everybody, okay, look, everybody, y'all see them with a newborn baby, just kill the baby.
Yeah.
And so he got to kind of, he got to expose himself, to make this plan work of, of hoping to make it work, keep it, to keep their numbers down, which it still didn't work because he didn't realize he was fighting against, the most awesomest God, my God.
Amen. Mine too.
But yeah, so
Yeah. He was something else.
yeah. So here's another point too. Now this these midwives, right?
Mm-hmm.
I ain't even gonna try and say their names. Sephara, Shifra, and Pua. Shifra and Pua, yeah. Now, these two midwives, they weren't like the only midwives for all of Israel. They were like, representatives of like that trade, or that, for like all of the midwives for Israel. So they were like, either the leaders of that trade or representatives, and it was their job to go back and say, okay, midwives, this is what y'all do or whatever. It's just not logical to say that it was only two midwives for a whole nation of people.
Yeah.
So they were more likely representatives.
Got it.
All right, good job.